them. They're here watching and enjoying the time. Like you should too. We're almost to affiliate. So first things first, a lot of people will always ask me like, what's my headset that I'm using? The headset I am using is a Quest 2, and honestly, I find it to be really good for the price point. For $300 to get 128 gigs, you can't go wrong. You're not really going to be using it, quote unquote, for the Quest, but I do recommend it if you want to get into VR and you're kind of iffy about getting into VR. You can get the link cable for it to use PC VR, but that's if your computer is like a high end, I would say. I don't want to say super, super low end, but high end would cause you to have a better experience. There is AirLink, which a lot of people still don't know and understand. AirLink will just send the PC VR signal to your headset wirelessly. However, a lot of people assume you could just put it on a 2.4 gig network and it will just work. No, you really need to put that on a 5 gig or even on a Wi-Fi 6 type network where you can get the most data to the headset, because if not, you'll be lagging, and that's when you'll start to get into issues with it. But today, we're not here to review the headset, really. That was just my quick thoughts on the headset. So we're going to be diving into the next couple of games. I have a whole list of them on the side here. I'm going to click them on, and then I'll put them into the tier. So we're going to start off with the top of the list being After the Fall. This one came out a few months ago, and I probably put in, I would say, about 60 hours or so. I'm not gonna quote on that off the top of my head, especially with a lot of these. But the replay value in it is very high, as you will just basically run harvest runs, and that's what's gonna get you the majority of your gameplay. You'll have multiple guns. You start off with a service pistol. You work your way up to like an M16 or an AK, basically. You will find a deagle. You will find an Uzi, and like those are the guns that you basically take with you back to the home base, and then you'll modify them to your style, whether it be the color, whether it be the suppressor on it. And that's basically what the game started off being. It has been mostly just like a Destiny 2 type, like looter shooter type thing, where you just go in, grab floppy disks for upgrades for your guns, and then like just survive a wave. But now they've released a couple, I think they released maybe like 2 more guns as of like the last update they just did recently, which is in March. And then we got a horde mode and a survival type mode. The PvP I haven't really tried. However, I can't get into PvP. It's not really my thing, but I do like the concept of it being like a retro 80s kind of snowy monster apocalypse. So what is my thoughts on it so far for the tier list? It's gonna be, shockingly, free transform. That's not the one I wanted to free transform. Thank you, technological advanced problems. If only there was a button combination I could do that isn't 3. I'm gonna put it in B. I feel it starting out of the gate was fun, but after you get through maybe the 4 hours of gameplay, that starts to become repetitive. It starts to die down a bit. The thing I do enjoy about the game is the fact that it reminds me of Left 4 Dead a lot, where you're basically starting from one end of the map and you're trying to make it to the other end and survive, while you're collecting up like pipe bombs, ammo, syringes to stay healthy, other weapons. Like that's kind of something that I enjoy. But I feel like this would go down to a C if things don't improve. And as of right now, they did improve it a little bit. They gave us that horde mode, and we got like a couple new guns. But I don't know how much longer it's going to last in a year. They do say that the roadmap for it, they're going to be producing more stuff and adding more stuff in. But I would like to see more maps available. We got new, like I think we got 2 horde maps and 2 harvest run maps, but that was about it from that update. So we're moving down the list to the next item. And it's going to be Beat Saber. Beat Saber, unfortunately, I don't understand the appeal. I just don't care for it. I don't see the immense amount of hours being played for it. So the thing is it's cool, it's fun, it's awesome that we have like a Guitar Hero type game where you basically have your controllers swinging, as lightsabers, cutting up, music notes. That's fine. That concept works, and I like that it's an exercise type game, and I like that we have like music that we can add to it. But the only way to add our music to it is like a custom mod list, because a lot of the music they have for Beat Saber isn't really music that I enjoy, and I don't want to like play Beat Saber with. The other thing is with those custom musics, a lot of them don't even match up properly. So if you're gonna be like da na 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 na, a lot of the na like they miss constantly, and it's like those weird videos on like TikTok where it's like people smacking their hands to the heartbeat and they're just way off tempo. A lot of the custom songs are way off tempo, and they bother me because that's not how I want to play Beat Saber. Like I want to like listen to the song and then smack at the right time. But then a lot of times people have it where it's just the song and no notes are going down the aisleway. The other thing too is a lot of the music is not beginner friendly. It is like expert plus and stuff, and I'm just like, bro, I don't need to flail my arms around. Like, why? I just want to take it easy first and then work my way up to these hard ones. But yeah, no, yeah. Honestly, if I have to give it a spot on this list, it's going to have to be. Oh, going to the wrong one again. Retransform. Let's shrink this baby down. And I am going to place this bad boy right here on C. I think C works because it's not a bad game. There is a community for it. The only problem is like, it doesn't appeal to me. And that's fine, but I kind of wish like they would have more like heavy metal music available, a lot more like beginner friendly stuff, and get people more into the groove. Like, because Guitar Hero worked so well because you had those beginner songs, and then you had Through the Fire and Flames, which was the expert plus game. Like you just had that stuff. But any which way, like that's basically Beat Saber for me. It's a little bit customizable, but I couldn't really get into it as much. I think I put maybe 20 hours in, and that was about it. Our next one on our list is going to be Skyrim. What a shock! This is absolutely appalling. Like, I just save you the time. I'm just gonna save you the time on this one. And I know I'm gonna hate for it, but God. F tier. Like, F tier. Like, it is just not worth it. It is absolute cash grab, money grab, whatever you want to call it. It is garbage. First and foremost, you do have to mod the game just to get it to work properly. I am sorry, but it's 2022 by now, and this game I think came out in like 2020 or like 2019. Don't quote me on this, but it came out a while ago, and there are just graphical issues still with this game. It looks like Vaseline on a lens, and it's just garbage. It doesn't look great, so there are people in the community that have modded it to make it look nicer. Cool, that's awesome. However, just playing the game feels janky. Compared to the other stuff on this list, it doesn't feel like a VR game. It feels like they just took the engine, threw a VR camera on the player model, and said, there you go, that's VR. That's how you do a VR game. And it's like, no, not at all. This doesn't feel right, doesn't work right. And Skyrim works a little bit better than the next. There's one more between this, but there's the Fallout game, and like the Fallout game is actually worse than the Skyrim game. Like I could say you could probably play the Skyrim VR game and have a fun time because you are invested into Skyrim more, and the problems from Fallout you won't know until like you've actually played both the desktop and the actual version of the Fallout VR. But we're not there yet. But some of the issues in Skyrim VR that's in Fallout VR are not there. Like the swords are properly matched to you versus like a freaking 10mm pistol is super large in your hand in Fallout. And these games were both released at the same time. You know what? Like screw it. We're just gonna pull up Fallout now because I can't talk about Skyrim VR and not talk about Fallout VR because like they're both fucking bad. Like, I don't think they're worth 60 fucking dollars. I'm sorry. Like, you gotta be kidding me that for a $60 price tag, which there is a $60 price tag game on this list, but you cannot sit there and tell me that just fucking, that's worth your money. Definitely, if you are a hardcore fan and you want them in your collection on PC, then buy them when they're on a Steam sale for 20 bucks, because at least 20 bucks doesn't feel like you're totally getting ripped off by Bethesda. I really do wish they would fix those games, but they're not going to. They never do. Both communities have found ways to fix the games to make them look proper and look nicer, but I mean, just out of the box, it's just not worth $60. Skyrim's a little bit better, but I'm not bumping it up to an E for that. It's just not fun. Like, if you're gonna play Skyrim and Fallout, especially those ones for a long period of time, VR is not the place to play them in. And the caveat to it is, if you have the DLC for like Fallout, you can mod it in by just taking the DLC files and dropping them into your Fallout 4 VR program file, like wherever you put it. It will actually register it as being a part of the game, because, like I said, it literally feels like they just took the regular game and then slapped a VR camera in the player model and called it a VR game. It just doesn't work. Rant out of the way. We're moving on. The next one, technically on the list, is going to be Elite Dangerous. This one was recommended to me from Kumo and Sturkey a bit. This one was basically space trucking. You just travel to different space stations, moving cargo, collecting cargo, doing some odd jobs through the galaxy. And then there's also like bounty hunting and a little bit. Honestly, for what it's worth, it's not a VR game. And there's another game on this list that acts like that as well, where all it really is they switch the perspective of the camera to a VR camera. Does that mean it's a bad game, though? This game still works like it's intended, and the other game on this list that does the exact same thing does what it's intended to do. All it really does is takes away your ability to use your mouse as a camera, but then at the same time use your head as a camera. So instead of being able to look around your cockpit with your mouse, you basically would look around the cockpit with your actual head. That's kind of the good part about it, is you can like experience like space travel in that type of a view. However, it is very nauseating. It is, if you play it for, I would say, about 15 minutes and you're just like zipping around space, doing barrel rolls and such, you might actually get nausea from it. If you're used to VR, then there's not going to be a problem here. If you are a fan of the game, I think the VR does increase the experience a bit. But if you're not like having a joystick and like throttle controls and mapping out all the buttons, then you might not be interested in playing that in VR, because this game is like, there's buttons upon buttons for this game. If you've played anything like Flight Simulator, I would say, or any of the games where like you have every macro possible on your keyboard, then yeah, like this game is going to be really for you. I heard from the Horizon update that there was some issues with the game. However, I did just play the base model of it, and I put, I think, 40 hours in, and it's just relaxing for me because I like space trucking. But at the same time, if you're not into certain stuff from this game, if it's not appealing to you, then I don't recommend it. I do recommend it on a sale price, though. I think I paid about 20 bucks for it just to get the base game. But even so, like, just customizing your ship or getting new ships, you do have a little bit of a microtransaction effect to it. But all in all, it's a little bit better than, I would say, Skyrim, at least. Like, it's playable. It will run. It does look nice. But you have to be into the idea of space trucking or just traveling the stars. And I think that's kind of the hit or miss of it. It's like really weird to hone in, like, do you want to play it or not? But the next one on this list that I did play for a little bit that I find lackluster at best, and I would be willing to go back to it if I had a group for it, because I know with multiplayer it makes it a little bit more fun. Is gonna be The Forest. The Forest being a really old open world survival horror game. Like I was there when the beta had gotten onto the Steam Workshop, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm cool, I'm in. It's like Lost. Uh, and then like after the alpha came out on the workshop, I just never went back. Like I think I played it for about 2 months and then never went back. I made like a raft house and that was it. Now in VR though, it definitely has a weird effect. Like it works. The intro is very vomit inducing because that's when like the plane crashes and such. But at the same time, being able to like play like a Rust type game, it's fine. I think you need to like own it in your collection. Eh, if you already have it in your collection, it's great that it has that ability where you just plug in your VR headset and you're good to go. With most of these, they have that ability. For example, the last one we just did, Elite Dangerous, if you bought the desktop version, you don't have to buy, unlike Skyrim and Fallout VR, you have to buy that copy of the game, even though you already own the original copy of the game. So Elite Dangerous and Forest are automatically give you the VR version for free. And there are a couple others on this list that do give you those things. But Skyrim and Fallout are the exception, not the rule. They both had you pay an additional $60 on top of the original game just to play it in VR. Which again, like, goes back to that argument where you basically just had a game where they slapped the VR camera onto a player model and called it a new release. But for the Forest, if you're into that survival horror stuff or like Rust, it works. Like I couldn't get really behind it without, I don't know. I'm gonna give it. Here's the thing. I'll give it another chance. I am gonna put it in D because I do enjoy the Forest. I think it was a good game, but it doesn't really interest me as much of the other games on this list, especially when it comes to like VR, because it's it's just an open world survival game where you're on an island looking for your son. That's basically what it boiled down to. And at best, when the cannibals came around, I got a little scared, but I don't see myself playing that for hours. So the next one on the list is the grand slam of it all. It's gonna be Half-Life Alyx. All right, Half-Life Alyx is by far the standard, but not the rule to VR. I do plan on finishing this on stream. I know we started it and then we ran into so many issues. I believe it's because my computer is slowly dying as it's got a 5-year-old, or I think it's even worse now, a 7-year-old processor. I'd have to double check. It's a Kaby Lake, so give me a break. But Half-Life Alyx is a really good game to get you into VR gaming, and I like that with the Valve Index, they give it to you for free if you buy like the whole kit and caboodle bundle, where they give you the controllers, the headset, the base stations. Like that's what I like about it, is like it's a good starting game, but it definitely changed the market, and now we're starting to see people kind of copy it a bit, which is fine. But some of the things it does right, I feel, gets kind of like put on a podium, and some of the things it gets wrong don't. One of the issues I have is their locomotion system or their teleportation system, where instead of it being an option, it's kind of forced upon you, which is kind of sad, because I enjoy having full blown locomotion where I can move around the map and I'm able to like interact with the environment like I kind of do in like VR chat, or even in like certain type of VR games that we'll see on the list. Boneworks being the ultimate exception to the rule, because that one was fully like immersive VR, but we're not there yet, so we're gonna go back to Half-Life. Half-Life gives you about, like, I think 12 chapters, and it's a straightforward campaign. Without spoiling it, it's very immersive in the sense of when they have a cutscene, kind of like in the old games where they just put you in a room and the NPCs would talk to you. these NPCs are kind of at your face, and they're kind of they're in your bubble, and you kind of feel like you're a part of the game. You kind of feel like you are Alex. But if you're not running a high-end computer and you're running like a low-end like I am, it chugs like a potato on low fidelity. And I wish we had more like control over the computer, because this thing just chugs. I have finished the game, and at the very end, I got down to 12 frames per second, and I couldn't play it. And that's what worries me about playing it again on stream, is just the mere fact that it's just going to chug constantly. A couple of the mechanics they do introduce in this game, they have used in other games. For example, Boneworks uses the whole kind of like fling your wrist and you'll be able to grab stuff from a distance. Like, it'll just like force grab it to you. Being able to reload and collect items, putting them over your shoulder, is kind of nice. The only issue I've ever had is the quick select option menu, which is basically your right hand is defaulted to your inventory. So you'll have to like open your inventory, move your hand up to grab your gun, move your hand down for the hack, move your hand to the left for the shotgun, and then I forget where they put the SMG. But you basically, that you would have to move your hand a certain way to access this menu. And that's kind of like one of those things where people like talk about how good it is, but never talk about how bad it is. It's like that menu was kind of annoying, because sometimes I would move my hand and select something completely wrong. Sometimes I would just want my hand and then want my pistol, but I had to go into the menu and then switch it that way instead of just pressing a button or just putting it in a holster. The teleportation feature, they had your right analog stick to basically turn on teleportation automatically. A lot of times I would teleport and just kill myself, or teleport into spots that I didn't want to be in, which would put me into dangerous situations. Does this feel like a Half-Life game, though? Is kind of like the caveat to it. It definitely feels like... What's the saying? It's like you haven't seen that friend in years, and then coming back, you feel it. Because like, I'm a fan of Half-Life, and I've never been able to really finish a Half-Life game because, well, Half-Life 1 is a nightmare to play. Would love to finish it. Half-Life 2, I haven't really... Like, I got through a lot of the beginning, but never fully got to the end. And then we have, like, the Portal games, which I've finished, which are a part of the universe. But, again, like, it's like Half-Life being the first one I've actually... Or Half-Life Alyx being the first one I've actually finished, and wanting to go back and play it, it shows its testament to how Valve has really changed the VR space, because now a lot of games, especially after this game, have started using mechanics from Half-Life Alyx into their games. So that's pretty much it for the Half-Life Alyx talking. I don't want to keep praising it on and on, but any which way, that's that. I know Kumo will just enjoy the fact that I just gave it like 15 minutes of talking. So you probably want the review, so here you go. It's gonna be... it's totally F tier. It's totally F tier. It's A. The reason why I don't give it S is because you're getting a 12 chapter campaign, and that's it. There are add-ons, there are people in the workshop that are making new stuff for it, but I feel like for what it's worth, you pay $60 to play 12 chapters, and that's it. Yeah, it's a really good, immersive VR game. I think you should have it in your collection, but I don't think it's the end-all, be-all type game that everybody thinks it is. Because everybody from IGN to, like, professional VR YouTubers say it's S tier, but I really feel at anything it's an A tier. There's not much quality versus quantity in this game. The highest quality being that the immersiveness is really good, but the amount of time you'll spend in it doesn't really feel like a $60 game. Like, I would say if it was like at the base level what most VR games are, which is $30, that would be a steal. That would be an S tier automatically. Which, coming up, there is something that would be an S tier that kind of beats it, I feel. But we're gonna move down the list now. No more of Alyx. It's good time, good talk. Alright, next one on the list is going to be Pavlov. This is Pavlov on PC. I know they're working on Pavlov Shack, which is the Oculus Quest or MetaQuest version of the game, but today we're just going to be talking about Pavlov on PC, because Pavlov Shack, real quick, is just a smaller version of Pavlov, but on the Quest. It runs almost exactly the same. It's kind of like the VR chat version of the game. Nevertheless, we're definitely going to be discussing on like what Pavlov is. I have not played the competitors to it, like Onward. I forget what the other one is, but like Pavlov in general, what works for it is it's a FPS shooter in VR with custom maps. I do think this is a really fun like precursor to something like Gary's Mod, where you had custom maps and you could just play murder or play like Nazi zombies. Something that me and Sturkey will like do once in a while is we'll go play Nazi zombies. You can play counterterrorism, or if you really want to go there, CS:GO. Like it has its capabilities and it has its customization. But that's basically it. If you wanted a Call of Duty VR game, this was as close as I could say. The reloading in the game is pretty nice. Like I like being able to hit the clip button, pull it out, slap it in, and then cock it back, and we're good to go. In Half-Life Alyx, you really don't get that as much. You kind of just slap it in, and then once in a while you have to cock it. In After the Fall, you have the option of doing the manual reload or just like smacking it towards your chest where your ammo pouch is, and it auto reloading for you. But for what it's worth, I think it's like worth $30. Just being able to play like maps that you grew up with, like from Halo or Call of Duty, or even if you wanted to go on like Mario 64 and just shoot up like bots, you could do that, or just shoot up your friends or something like that. Like that's kind of what makes this game kind of fun, is all the custom maps. And honestly, there's really not much I could say about it. I've put maybe 60 hours into it with Sturkey and just playing against bots. It's pretty much gonna be A tier for me. Like if you like FPS shooters, you'll love playing it in VR. It's just that simple. However, in the multiplayer, I do have an issue with. It's a little complicated trying to make a game and play the game with people. They think they're still working out the kinks for it, but I digress. It's basically comes down to your own personal FPS sandbox. That's how I look at it. So, next thing on the list is going to be the one, the only Phasmophobia. Phasmophobia being recently new. I think in September of like 2021, they came out with the VR mode, and in 2022, they're supposed to be updating it to really get it to work properly in VR. If you've been living under a rock, Phasmophobia is basically 4 players go investigate ghosts. We've been streaming it constantly on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/TateshiVR, since we can't stream on Facebook or YouTube, because YouTube just doesn't really care about the channel. But I digress. We're going to move on. Phasmophobia, having the VR mode makes it a lot of fun, because if you have it for desktop, it is free for the VR. So all you have to do is hook in your VR headset and you're good to go. And there's 2 types of players. There's the desktop players and there's the VR players. It's kind of nice to have that kind of what's sort of organic gameplay, because while you're a desktop player, you're only able to take 3 items with you, but at the same time, a VR player could take up to 4 items, and they're able to interact with the environment differently from a desktop player. There are still some bugs though when it comes to that, like one of them being the fact that if I'm in VR and I have a lighter, it doesn't work the same way as it would with a desktop player. So lighting a candle that's in the house is actually more problematic for me in VR than a desktop player, because a desktop player could just run over to real quick where it's at, like at the end table, and then press F and boom, it's already lit. But for me, I have to physically put my hand over the candle and then it will ignite itself. Is it scarier in VR? For some people, yes. For other people, oh no. Like I think after they changed the one map, or no, the one update they did, they made the ghost more aggressive. That's when I feel like it got really scary. Because a lot of the ghosts will actually get up in your face, like, "Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Welcome to my house." And it's just, it was not fun, because like it'd be like, oh, it'd be right on my shoulder. That's not cool. But then at the same time, it's like other times, like I would die, and I would have like a 5 foot gap between the ghosts. Like the ghost would just vanish, and the next thing I know, it's just that ripping off my face. Using equipment is kind of problematic. When the cursed objects came out, we were not able to touch the Ouija board without it exploding. We were not able to touch the tarot cards because the tarot cards would not let us draw a card. We were not able to touch the music box or the voodoo doll because then they would fall into the abyss of the map and we wouldn't be able to use it. So the desktop players would be like, what the fuck, man? Why can't we not use it? Oh, because I touched it and it just out of existence. They have fixed it a little bit, but it's still buggy touching stuff in the house, especially with the cursed objects. It's still iffy because a lot of times I'll like grab something in VR like the EMF reader and then all of a sudden I'll have like 3 arms. Like I'll have the one that's holding the EMF, another one that's holding the EMF, and then a random one underneath the EMF. So it's still buggy. It's still hard for VR players to play. However, just being able to experience it differently from a desktop player and help out a desktop player solve what ghost is in the house is actually quite fun. I wish I could do it more, but every time I go into the VR headset, it just drains me. And it's like, that's why we do it for about 4 hours. And I've had more fun sitting at the desktop playing it than in VR, only because like in VR, I know what I'm doing. I'm grabbing the dots, I'm throwing the dots on my pants or on my belt, quote unquote, and then I'm going to grab 2 cameras and I'm going to go into the house and charge, and then I'm going to drop them down and we're good to go. And desktop is like, okay, well, I got to just pick 3 items that I know I'm going to use, so then I'm good to go. I can't run in VR. I run like molasses, but in like PC, like I'm like booking it to the door as fast as possible. It is a lot harder for me to see in the dark versus on desktop. But I like, there's a whole list. Like, you guys know, I play this constantly on stream. So, like, I have fond memories of this game in VR, and I have fond memories of it on desktop. Do I think you should buy it for your collection? I think if you're a fan of survival horror... Oops, wrong one. I think if you're a fan of survival horror, I definitely feel you should have it. At least by now, for the amount of praise it gets. However... for VR alone, it's fun, it's worth it. I'm glad it's free with it, but they gotta fix it first for it to really be fully immersive and fun. Alright, the next thing on this list today we have is Subnautica. I know all of these are like getting covered up, so like I will try to adjust it as best as possible for you. Because I know this list is getting bigger and bigger now, but Subnautica, we tried yesterday to show off the VR, and it's in the same boat as Elite Dangerous, where it works as a desktop game, but when you put it in VR, all it does is it takes your VR headset and makes it a what's the word I'm looking for? A camera. Like, it's not as bad as Skyrim and Fallout, where they just slapped it in there and called it a game. It's more or less you have no mouse control to a degree. Like, you're swapping out your look around with the mouse with your head. And this game is a little bit more problematic than Elite Dangerous. I only got to play maybe an hour of it before we gave up on how convoluted the controls were. Because you can't play the game with the Quest 2 controllers. Unlike Elite Dangerous, you have to use keyboard and mouse, or your throttle and your joystick. Like, that's just how the game works. However, for some god-awful reason, Subnautica does not work because it wants you to use your keyboard and mouse, your Quest controllers, and a game controller. Why? Like, what the hell? Why? Just pick one. And the problem is like, oh, well, there's not enough buttons on the Quest controller. Okay, then disable the Quest controller and let you use the keyboard and mouse. Why? Like, a lot of the times, certain buttons you would think would work on keyboard don't work on keyboard because they switched them to the controllers. And a lot of times the controller buttons don't work because they have to be on the keyboard. So it's like, okay, this game's supposed to be a stationary played game, but I can't play it. So this is actually one of those ones where I don't recommend it at all in VR. It's fun that it works in VR, but they really, and I know they're not going to fix it because they're on to below zero. They really gotta fix that game. Like I don't even care if there's a mod out there to fix it, but my god, I could not play that game at all. I I've played it before and I love playing Subnautica and I would love to play it again. But oh my god. There's three controllers all going off at the same time. That's just not right. I don't know. Hell no. That's not a fun way to play the game. But I digress. That's basically it for Subnautica. Like I don't really have a lot of stuff to say about it. I will say it looks kind of good. I have it doesn't seem like it's hard to run at all on the computer. A lot of the higher up games, exception being Alex, runs pretty well on today's modern hardware, with the exception of being an F that just those games weren't built to run in VR and they just kind of hodgepodged it together. This next game is really kind of like a tool than a game. It's tabletop sim. Like tabletop sim, I got just so I could play like Warhammer or D&D virtually with my friends, which ended up not working out, and we ended up using things like Roll20 or other services that give you that quality of tabletop gaming. However, it is nice that this has a VR kind of port, and you're able to interact with the table a certain way, where you're able to pick up the pieces and move them in virtual space. The only problem is the UI just it needs to get caught up with the times. I had boot this up one time in VR and I couldn't even select a game and start playing a game at a table. I have not been able to play this game in VR at all because I feel like it's not built a certain way. So my ranking on it is pretty reasonable. Like it works. It's a game. It's just playing board games in a virtual space. I give it an E. Like I put it in the same ballpark as Subnautica. Like it's a game that works, but the VR just needs a little bit more tweaking on it for it to be really okay. And I think it just needs a UI overhaul, really. There's not much I can say about it, like I said about Subnautica. It's just there, and I'm glad it exists. I just wish they would make a little bit more improvement. Unlike something like Phasma, for example, they have come out and said they are improving it, and it's only been a few months. So our top tier game is gonna be, if you know me, it is Boneworks. Not by choice, actually. I saw a couple things on TikTok about Boneworks. I'm like, okay, yeah, Boneworks. That's a cool game. That's a fun game. That's awesome. Uh, the most I've seen has been the mods, and Boneworks have basically boiled down to being a Gary's Mod Light type game when it comes to mods, and there's nothing else shown about it. When you get into the campaign, between what I've seen on IGN and a lot of other people that talk about it, they say the campaign is lackluster. But when you do the whole Five Nights at Freddy's thing where you dive into the lore and you look into it, it's actually not a bad game. It's a very interesting game. We have finished this on stream, and I'm very proud that we put the time and effort into finishing it on stream. This game runs a hell of a lot better than Alex, and the physics in the game is a lot better than Alex. So the caveat to it is you have a full body in VR. You basically reload the guns the same way you would in Pavlov, and the only caveat to everything is when you move around, it's more physics based, so you have to like jump, you'll have to climb, you have to do a lot of stuff. And they recommend that if you are new to VR, you should not play this. And I can tell you right now, yeah, if you're new to VR, do not. This game will make you vomit. There has been a couple times playing it that I got nauseated, and I just that's why we split the campaign in like half, and we were like, okay, we'll do 5 hours this weekend, and we'll do 5 hours the next weekend, because we got to the point where there was so much like physical stuff going on that it was like, yeah, no, there's no way you can complete the whole game without getting sick. But that's fine because the game works, and when the game works, you really do feel immersed. So there was a lot of things in that game where reloading guns in like tight situations or like smacking stuff away from me just felt like I was in the game and I felt a part of it. The story is lackluster, I'll give you that. But the fact that there's a modding community, there's like games that you can play inside of it, it feels like a mini Gary's mod. So what Half-Life Alex had, but a little bit more. And I like the mechanics a little bit more, I like the physics of it. And that's pretty much it. I do plan on playing Duck Season. I just don't have it yet. But I'm interested in seeing what Stress Level Zero has versus the company that does After the Fall in Arizona. I don't really don't have high hopes for that company. I think it's like, oh god, I forget the name of them, but I know someone in the chat will post it. The next one up on the list is, of course, what a shock. Oop, wrong one. What a shock. VR chat. Some people will argue that this is not a game. Some people will argue that this is just garbage. I will like to elaborate on that, that it is not Rec Room. So come at me. Oh, or Echo VR. It is, those two I have not played. I refuse to play Rec Room. I don't find Rec Room to be interesting to play. And then Echo is kind of something that needs to get retooled. Due to the mere fact that there are a lot of like just kids in there that scream constantly. You will get that in VR chat. However, you can basically tool your experience to how you want. The running joke I've had for the longest time has been it is AIM, but in a virtual space. It is a virtual chat room in virtual space. The good part about it is stuff like PlayStation Home, G Tower, Second Life, like, and if you've played any of those in the old days, that's what it feels like. And it is it's just one of those games that just works. It's it got really popular in like 2017 when I started playing because of Uganda Knuckles. But during that time there was like so many like kids on there, and I'm like, okay, I'm not playing this. I can't do this. This is no. I don't want to play with a bunch of kids screaming in microphones. Come to like 2020 and 2021, we had the pandemic and we had a lot of people that went to this game and hung out with people. A couple people bought VR headsets just because of VR chat, just so they can just chill and hang out with friends. And I think that's kind of what makes VR chat an interesting game. Is It's just a virtual chat room, but you can hang out with your friends and play mini games. Like, I play Murder all the time with my friends. I play Among Us in VR chat. I play a bunch of other games. And like, that's kind of the whole gist of just playing games with your friends. And then you can go from that to just chilling on a couch watching like a latest movie or something, because somebody has a bootlegged pirated system in there that you can just watch movies or watch TV with your friends. There are people that literally have double lives in VR chat, and it's just something that will probably stand the test of time for a while, and that's what I like about it. And like, there are some worlds I love going to just because, like, I have them favorited just because they're my favorite places to go to and hang out. But as always, like, let's get on to the tier. Let's see where we got here. Whoop! We're gonna put it in A tier. Like, hands down, I feel it is a high quality game for what it's worth. It's free. It's a virtual chat room that you can hang out and talk to your friends in virtual space, play mini games with. Like, it's, if you've played, like I said before, if you've played Second Life, PlayStation Home, Gary's Tower, Tower Unites, like, if you've played that stuff, playing it in VR is just another form of what those games had brought to the table before. And it's kind of nice, and it's kind of customizable as well, as you can make your own world, make your own avatar, and feel a part of community the way that you want to feel. So you have people that are furries that hang out in here. You have people that are, anime junkies that hang out and talk about anime. It feels like you could find a community, and that's just how it works. And for the longest time, like, especially during the pandemic, people felt isolated and alone, and this game has gone up in popularity because they're able to just, even on desktop, like there's desktop mode, you could just tune in and you'd be fine. Like you could meet people and like interact with them. You might not be able to move your arms around like so, but like you were able to sit down and just play like a quick game of Among Us, or sit down and watch TV with your friends, or just go to the pub and talk for a little bit, interact with people, socialize a little bit. Sure, you'd still find some squeakers that would be screaming, racial slurs and such, and you could just immediately block them. But that, again, any game that is virtually free or has a huge kid population, or brush kids, for example, you're gonna have that. But being able to like walk around a map, meet the map's creator and talk to them, be able to watch a new movie that is in like one of the theaters, being able to experience things in VR chat, kind of makes those moments in time, especially with the camera, very valuable. That's why we have like, or at least for me, I have for the channel an Instagram where I'm trying to post all my VR chat photos, so that if something happens, I have them backed up somewhere, because I can't back them up to the VR chat website because they give you a limited space to upload, and I'm like getting extremely high on the space. But like that's what makes me enjoy VR chat. It's just being able to interact with people and do things and remember, have like fond memories, because I still have fond memories of like PlayStation Home and G Tower and Tower Unite. Like I still have fond memories of what I'd done in those games, and I've wanted to do like a video on that topic alone, but I just haven't had the mental capacity to come up with a really good reason why to come up with a video. Like even right now, like most of this is not scripted because I can't come up with a way to describe these games in a form that people could digest properly. I digress. Moving up next, we have is recently, I would say in a while, is Zenith. Zenith, of course, is the latest MMO RPG that they kickstarted apparently, and it finally came out to the store quite like I would say like about 1 or 2 months ago, and I've put maybe I would say 10, 20 hours into it. I wish I could go back, but I understand its concept. I understand its concept, but I do not get behind it. And that's the thing I just find. Real quick, I gotta switch the music out. Okay, sorry about that. Zenith, it's like a Japanese RPG, and I just can't get behind it. Like I like that it's a MMORPG that's in VR, but the aesthetic and all that, the lore, I personally just I can't get into it. I know people are enjoying it and loving it, and there's even a guy on TikTok that is like a food vendor that's just chilling in the city. Like that guy, get props. I got to give him props. The guy is great. People are finding new ways to experience this game, and I think that's what's going to give the game more longevity. It's not going to be the end game content. It's not going to be the new classes or expansions. I think it's going to be how the community plays the game. And you could tell people, sadly, from all ages, love playing this game. Because I have had run into squeakers, and I've run into anime junkies that are screaming about ES or Sword Art Online, and it's like, okay, I just want to play the game in peace. Because when you first start playing the game, the microphone is completely on. You have to go into your settings, which is a little bit of a convoluted mess, just so you can be able to not hear those people. But again, it's very open. It's very fun to play. It has potential, I feel, and I could see this being around for quite some time, and I love that it's cross-platform. So if you're on PlayStation VR, you can play with people. If you're on Quest 2 only, not the Quest 2 on PC, you can play. Like, it's very open-ended, and I have to say, it has a very high potential of staying around. Do I think it should be a high-tier game? Definitely, but I'm putting it in B tier because I feel the amount of time I put in with the game doesn't justify me saying that it's a good game at an A or an S tier, which is fine. However, do I want to play more of it? Yes, when I have free time, which currently right now, getting the stream set up to a certain way so that people enjoy the content, having the YouTube channel get quality content, and then also at the same time building up the Twitch following. It's I don't have the time to play an MMO like I used to. I do want to sit down and do maybe like a stream where we all hang out and play, like we do like a dungeon raid or something. Do I think you should run out, buy a VR headset just to play that? No, not really. That's kind of the caveat to it is it's a really fun game, but it's not one of those ones that are like you got to go get a headset. Everything in A and S are you got to go get a headset. You have to play it in VR because it's a different type of an experience. Things in B are like, okay, it's like, what else should I play next? C, okay, I should play this. D, optional. E, not really optional. F, don't fucking do it. Like, that's been the whole list if you've been following along with the dialogue. But next one on the list is... okay. Whew. I have played a little bit of this, and I know on our stream we have it as a goal where if we got 100 followers, I will stream playing this game, and I will try to finish it in a day. That's the goal. It's not impossible to hit 100 people, but we're almost to 50 for the VR chat rave. I'll give you that. However, oh my god, I fucking hate this game. Do you mean you hate this game like at F level? No, it is fucking immersive to the point that these things don't match what you see on YouTube. So Markiplier, Jacksepticeye playing this, yeah, totally. You'd be like, yeah, no, it's just a regular game of Five Nights at Freddy's. I've played Five Nights at Freddy's. I played 1 through 4, and it's fine. Like I thought the games were fine. When people were like, "You gotta get the lore. You gotta understand the lore," it's like, okay, why? Like, why does that matter? Well, it's just a game where you're being attacked by animatronics from Chuck E. Cheese. And when it comes to the VR stuff, I've never screamed so loud in my life, and that's giving like the times in Phasma where I've been pissed and afraid a run for its money, because I've literally almost tripped over myself and like fallen on my computer desk or fallen out of my play space and landed on something, because these things are so in your face when you die, and they're just terrorizing. I can't, and I know that's what you guys are going to probably enjoy if we hit 100, but at the same time, it is not the same experience that you see on YouTube or just in general. It's a whole nother ballpark, and it's just and especially in the mechanic stuff where like you have to like replace Bonnie's eyes and you have to deal with, like, all that stuff is just I hate it. And I think it's a well-built game in VR, and you can play that one on Quest 2 and you can play it on PC, but I think they also brought out a desktop port of it now, because I saw you could buy it for Switch, and it's disgusting that it's on Switch. But I honestly feel that it is definitely a fucking... I hate myself. It's an A-tier game. I don't think it's an S-tier game because I wish it was a little bit more immersive. It mostly boils down to you teleporting. I wish you were able to walk around in an environment. But then again, 9 times out of 10, you're just standing in front of a computer pushing buttons. But for what it's worth, sound pitch perfect, visuals on point. It doesn't take much to run on the computer. It doesn't run like molasses, and just being really immersed in the game works. The only reason why I don't put it up in S tier is it's just a rehash of games 1 through 4 with a little bit of bonus content. You should probably grab it with the Halloween DLC just so it has a little bit more content. But all in all, if you like Five Nights at Freddy's, you probably want to play that game. That's all I'm going to say on it. Arizona Sunshine. This game is actually one of the first VR games that I found. The only reason I say it's one of the first is because for some reason, it came out, I think, 2016, 2017, and it's just garbage. I hate to say that it's garbage, but it's just garbage. It is a, like, Walking Dead zombie simulator compared to the next game that the company made, which I think is Vertigo, is After the Fall. After the Fall is a little bit better than that. However, I put maybe an hour or two into this, and I had a buggy nightmare of a mess. And I for what we had at the time versus what we have now, it shows. Like, this did not age well. This is just rotting, and it's just not working. It's I don't recommend it at full price. If you want to play it on sale. But does it run is a good question. Is it an F tier game? Yeah, no, I give it an E tier. It's quite disappointing. The game on sale is about like $10. If you like shooting zombies, you should be fine. However, I wasn't interested in the campaign. I haven't heard anything good from professional YouTube VR players about it. So I leave it at the E tier just because it exists. It was running fine in like the beginning of VR. It was one of the popular titles where you could just walk around and shoot zombies, but I don't think it aged well with time. And it kind of shows because when you go to after the fall, a lot of their mechanics have changed. It was the same company, but just different games. And honestly, I got nothing else to say for it. Besides, I was very, very disappointed because you're coming from, say you played like Pavlov with Nazi zombies. Going to that, I felt really disappointed. Like, I felt like it was a cheap shooter. We're down to our last game on the list that I've played, and if you're, again, like I said before, if your game is not on this list, I do apologize. I either do not have it like Duck Season. I didn't bring up Minecraft, for example, because Minecraft is kind of a modification of Minecraft in general to get Vivecraft to work, so I didn't really consider that onto the list. What was another game? What's another popular game that everybody enjoys playing? Well, Duck Season was the one that we needed. God. It was a Medal of Honor game that I have on my list that I would like to play, but I haven't had the time to play it. Oh, there was another one that people always recommend me, and I cannot remember for the life of me. But we're going to move on to the last one for the video, and it is going to be, of course, drum roll please, blah, 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 Resident Evil on the Quest 2. The problem with Resident Evil on the Quest 2 is factually, it is exclusive to the Oculus Quest or the Meta Quest 2. It's not on PC. I feel like if this game was on PC, it would probably make gangbusters because of how people love Resident Evil. The only problem is, on PC, Resident Evil 4 doesn't work for me, and I've been like dying to play it for quite some time. And this was my first time playing Resident Evil. We have tried to stream Resident Evil, but because it's on Quest 2 only, or Meta Quest, it is detrimental trying to get the stream going because I'm not able to read chat, I'm not able to see chat, so it's like I can't have a hard time trying to stream this one. Would I ever finish the game? Yes, I would love to finish the game on stream. I would love to play it, but there are still some issues with trying to get that done. I put in, I would say this is actually the first VR title I got, because when you get a Quest 2, this is probably going to be the first one you grab before you start grabbing stuff from PC. And that's giving VR chat a run for its money in the other games that I already had like a VR free version of because it's compatible in the game. This was the one I actually threw money at. I was like, okay, I will play this. I do like playing like Resident Evil. I'm a fan of Resident Evil 2. I have the remake of 2. I've played 5. I didn't play 7 or 8 because I don't like Ethan. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Mechanic-wise, the game does actually work. It took a lot of the good things that we've had post-Alex and put it to its uses. You have the locomotion of you moving around. You have the teleportation. You have the ability to grab stuff off your chest, like your grenade being on your left tit, and then like your knife being on your right, or vice versa. You have like your holster next to you, and then you have behind you your shotgun or your SMG or your sniper rifle. Like, it has that customization of how you want to play and how you can be immersed in the game as well, how you feel about it. It definitely feels, from what I understand from a lot of professional VR YouTubers, it definitely feels unique because it is just a cakewalk just to run and just have the knife going constantly. There is uh, the mercenary mode coming in a later update. Sooner or later, we'll have it. But as of right now, I have not played it. Uh, I've played about half of the game, and I could say, for what it's worth, people saying that this is being one of the, like, the best Resident Evil games. It's hard for me to believe, but at the same time, I completely respect and understand when people say that this game is a good story. And in VR, the controls are really good. I've been afraid in this game a lot more, but not as much as like Phasma or Five Nights at Freddy's. It's more panic-inducing than anything. And I do want to finish this game. There are some caveats. There are some weird stuff where like I can touch the merchant, but I can't touch Ashley because like I would do some jokey stuff, and like Ashley would just keep a distance. But then like I could like touch the merchant, and it would be totally fine. I could screw around with like dead villagers as well, but it's like weird because like I know why they did that stuff because there was a whole article on that, and I find it funny just to bring up in this discussion because it's so stupid that they would do like something that minute because we all love Ashley, right? I mean, I understand how stupid she is because she's like the first escort character that everybody hates, and then we had Elizabeth from BioShock like do a 180 and made it completely correct to do. But at the same time, it's like she's an iconic character in Resident Evil that everybody knows. Leon Kennedy is also another like famous character. Chris Redfield, Sheva, I actually enjoy. And then you have like Joe Valta. It's like a whole list of this stuff. And it's like I find like that's that minute details so stupid that people were talking about when the game came out. So my final verdict on the game is definitely, it's controversial, but I will say it's an S tier game. I think if you have a Quest 2, it should be the first game you should get and try out. If you're a Resident Evil fan, you probably already have it and you've already played it. But if you are like a diehard like speedrunner of Resident Evil 4, it's a cakewalk. I've heard it's super easy to get through. The game isn't as hard as the original version of the games are, where it's the over-the-shoulder action. But for what it's worth, for about I think $30, it's a steal. I think it's a steal. You'll have some time with it. Sure, it doesn't have multiplayer. It's got a decent story. But I can't. I really can't say much more about it because like I haven't fully finished the game, and I want to go back and finish the game, and I want to be able to finish the game on desktop. And I feel they need to port that game over to PC VR in some way, even just be able to on the Oculus Quest store or MetaQuest on PC be able to play it. That would be fine. Like I'd be okay with that. But all in all, guys, I thank you so much for tuning in. I thank you for listening to me to ramble for what seems to be an hour in general. I do appreciate it. And remember, for the YouTube people, like, comment, and subscribe. Much appreciated. We are live at twitch.tv/TakashiVR. And we do live shows like this. We hope to do more live shows like this more often. And as always, love each other, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Say goodbye, chat. Yeah, right?